Well, hello internets, here we are with part 2, still sort of on the trailer topic. Well, I posted the ad, and within about 20 minutes, half hour of posting the ad, I had a guy, first question he asked, is this still available? Well, it was posted 30 minutes ago and the ad is still up, so chances are it probably is still available, unless I'm a complete idiot that knows how to post ads but don't know how to remove them or edit them properly, which, benefit of the doubt, there's plenty of those people out there, because, well, I've ran into that too, where you inquire about something, it takes them 3 weeks to respond, and they go, oh yeah, I sold it. Well, remove your ad, buddy, kind of a thing. Quit cluttering up the site with a bunch of spam. But hey, that's a topic for a whole nother vlog. So this guy that inquired, the first thing he wanted was extensive photos of the water damage, which is not, I'm still not 100% sure that the roof at all is leaking, which I really don't think it is. I am pretty sure it's coming from either the gray tank or the toilet seal. Or possibility maybe there's a seep in the water line. However, I don't use the pressurized system, I use the 12-volt water pump. So if there was a leak in the water line, you would hear the pump kicking on every so often to re-pressurize itself, suck more water, even if it's only a cupful or whatever, to re-pressurize the line before shutting itself off. I don't know yet where it's coming from. I still suspect the toilet seal, if there is such a thing. I gotta do some research to make sure I'm not insane. Or possibility of, like I mentioned, or possibility of the gray tank, the sink water. Because see, I dump into the sink water I dump into the gray tank my sink water and my shaving water, stuff like that, rather than dumping it onto the ground. It's technically clean-ish water. I'm sure you can stick a life straw in it and filter it and drink it. It's not like it's the black tank that is full of political promises or anything. So I'm pretty sure I've got a ruptured gray tank, or I don't know, not 100% sure what it is. And in order for me to take extensive photos of the water damage, I gotta basically rip things apart. And once I rip things apart, there goes basically anybody's chance of ever putting it back to factory spec, because, well, I'm not ripping it apart to restore the back half of the trailer, because I have no use for a bathroom that is as small as a phone booth. For all you younger generations that have no idea what a phone booth is, let's just say about 3 feet by 3 feet. That's 36 inches by 36 inches. For all your older guys that know what a phone booth is, well, the bathroom might actually be 4 by 4, but it feels like it's 2 by 2 because, well, I'm not made for small bathroom size, so I will spare you the unpleasant image of me in there. I probably gave it to you already, but hey, it kinda is what it is. So my grand vision is to open things up back there a bit. My grand vision is to maybe shrink that double bed into a single bed. Possibility of a single bed with a pull-out so it folds sort of like a futon or a jackknife bed flat, and goes from a single couch to a double fold-out, just to open things up, save a little bit of space. I got whatever there is, 5 square feet of lower cabinets, and maybe 8 that is 5 linear feet of lower cabinets and maybe 8 linear feet of upper cabinets. So I'd like to put another row of cabinets back there uppers and possibility of lowers for storage excesses stuff. Not to overload the trailer, but a little bit more organization. Even if that's just where you put your canned goods when you're camping, kind of a thing. And as for the tub and shower, well, it's never been used. The guy before me never showered in it, never bathed in it. And, well, obviously I've never bathed in it or showered in it because, well, you remember that movie called Elf from, I believe it was early 2000s with, was it Will Ferrell, where he's like a full-size human in an elf world? Well, that's kind of how I feel when I'm in there. It's like micro-sized, RV-sized, you know, and I would probably turn either it into like a nice vanity with maybe a sink in there for hand washing, or I would put a nice linen wardrobe, linen closet in that corner, sort of just opening it up a bit. I have a few ideas on the back burner. My life, it's hard to know what the future holds to build for the future, and it's hard to know exactly what direction to go because you kind of know where you're heading. You've been heading there for, well, since I broke my hand. It's been going there. I've done everything I can to not go there, to stay here, stay on this side of that so-called line, but as rent increases, as bills go up, as things change, the choice becomes more and more obvious. What I have to do is make that choice, shed $1,000 a month in unneeded expense and put it into building my future. And as for the mold, well, I need to get at it quick. I cannot wait until spring, and I definitely cannot wait until fall next year. I've got probably 2 weeks here to get annoyed, play around with these tire kickers, and then I have to fix it, or decontaminate it, or light it on fire and roll it down a hill, and then, you know, take it and trade it for a Coupe de Ville or whatever, right? And there's a nice wrecking yard about across town from where the storage yard is that I'm sure if I paid the money they would take it. There's a good battery, good propane tank. There's a, well, 2 propane tanks. There's an onboard charger system that charges the battery, because when it's plugged in, the battery doesn't go dead even though it was low when I plugged it in. In-house water tank for drinking water, 12-volt pump, nice little plastic bar sink. There's lots of parts that I could roll over into my future trailer, especially a cargo trailer build, which is where I would like to be back into. That was one of the things during those most confusing times of my life in 2017, 2018 that I regret making the mistake of, is selling my cargo trailer. When my life was so confusing where it was falling apart, I honestly thought I was going to end up living in my trailer because everything had failed. Everything that I had worked for was going or gone, and people weren't there, support programs weren't there, and stuff like that, and I panicked and sold the cargo trailer for less than I had into it. And then my neighbor across the street was selling his RV, which was fully built with literally everything you kind of need to survive a -5 or so western, like BC type coast winter, you know. So I bought it, and that was kind of my plan, was to go out to BC. However, before I could liquidate my house and tools and everything, a glimmer of hope came, and So now the RV was just used for camping season and road trips and things. But once again, as things change, it becomes more and more evident what I need to do. The path that I had started in 2017, I need to pick up again and continue that path. However, it's going to be more of a financial struggle and burden this time around, because none of that savings, none of that rainy day fund is here now. It is beyond more than spent. I owe money from the last year of rent increases and bill increases. I've had to borrow money to survive this last year. So starting this long-term plan, short-term plan, long-term debt is not a good thing, because I will just struggle to pay things off and then get more debt on top of what I've already accrued for debt. But I know there's chemicals out there. I know there's off-the-shelf hardware store consumer chemicals. I know there's the natural, works about an eighth of the time, nature remedy chemicals. And then I know that there is melt the paint off a Buick or turn you into an instant pirate. Hence why the skull and crossbones is that's a pirate thing. Must turn you into a pirate symbol on those jugs type of cleaner, because when these apartments caught on fire here in what was it, 2020, they sat, all three of them had extensive water damage, and they sat empty for almost a year before they started to fix them. During that year there was all sorts of interesting things growing in there, and I had my share of lung problems. That may have been where some of my sickness came from in the fall of 2021, when they were ripping all that apart and all that air was floating through everybody's apartments, because we all share the common hallway, right? So the breeze that was coming through the apartment would sift under their door into the hallway, and then sift under my door, and then I'd breathe in all the goodness. When they were working, if I didn't keep my window closed and a towel in front of the door, there'd be a fine film of dust and stuff all over my counter and all over my coffee table and stuff. And one time they sucked out the insulation, I'm assuming, and the vacuum they used was vented right toward the apartment, so when the wind blew and the vacuum was running, it all blew it right toward our windows. So whatever goodness was in there blew right back into, especially my apartment, or all three of our apartments that weren't burnt out. And that may be where some of where I was sick come from last fall. Well, when they were decontaminating these apartments, they were spraying some really, really, really strong, nasty chemicals. They made my eyes water. I don't know what kind of chemicals. So I know there are some good stuff out there that are beyond consumer grade to use, so maybe I'll have to track some of that down and get some good stuff from disaster service or the janitorial contractor, non-consumer, non-Home Depot, off-the-shelf stuff, some good stuff from a professional to do that job or so. And I think if I suit up, wear a good mask, drop the suit when I'm done, change my clothes, come home, have a shower, everything will be okay. Maybe even putting on one of the plastic suits just to come home, and then essentially then you'll be using two suits for one job. So you'd have to buy twice as many plastic suits as you think you should. And of course one of those big bulky lead, asbestos, mold, I forget what the class of mask is. When I worked at the hardware store, there was two they carried. One was for like asbestos, lead, chemicals or whatever, and one was for mold, dust, but they're the big ones with the big cartridge filters, not the not the little paper masks that they use for the so-called deadliest plague in 100 years kind of a thing. I still got a box of them, so technically, if it was good enough for that, it should be good enough for mold, right? In theory. But all I know is if I humor these tire kickers and wait for another 2-3 months until freeze up, by next spring, especially next summer or next fall, it'll be way too far gone. I can't even use the trailer as a shed until it's remediated, right? And once it gets bad enough, I can't even be around it if I leave it in the back corner of where it's currently parked. And basically, if I remediate it, if I remove all the mold, all the bad plywood, clean things up, then I essentially am now, I'm committed to rebuilding it, which I don't think I'll spend that much that it's gonna, you know, cost me like, you know, thousands upon thousands of dollars, especially since I'm not gonna put it back to spec. And if I do it correctly, I might even end up having a toilet, a tub, a shower, a couple of cushions, maybe even a hot water heater to sell, which would probably bring in a couple $100 to go for the actual build. But like I said, I got a few things rattling around in my mind. I know this Jayco is not my plan for the future, but at the same time, this is maybe what I need for the next, you know, 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 10 years, however long it takes to save enough money to get me back into a cargo trailer. The price of the cargo trailers have risen by about $3,000 to $4,000 from where they were when I bought mine. It seems that now a very similar trailer to mine is well over $15,000, and when I bought mine they were just a little over 10. And with all that, of course, the windows will have increased, the air conditioner will have increased in price, the expensive RV door will have increased in price and stuff like that. So all that good stuff goes up with all of that, you know. Like, one of the thoughts I had was parting the Jayco out, using the windows in another trailer, all that expensive stuff in another trailer. But you know, the Jayco being 15 years old, not sure if you want to put used parts into a brand new trailer, or you want to do it up with expensive brand new parts and technically have it last without needing repair in a couple years. But I'll, like I said, humor these tire kickers for a while, but eventually I'm gonna have to make a choice on what to do. The longer it sits, the worse it gets, and probably the worse it's gonna be on me to remediate it. Cash in hand is better than a stay in the hospital, but at the same time, I need a couple $1,000s for sure. I need a few $1,000s to pay off some debt that I have incurred in this last summer, the summer here. Not to forget the money it's going to take to replace that trailer. So it's not like I'm asking $1 million for it. I'm just asking what is fair, and what the potential of that trailer can be if somebody doesn't follow the throwaway trend that this world is and actually fixes something rather than just tosses it and buys new for the thrill of the brand newness. There's probably, like I said, another 10 years for sure in that trailer, maybe even longer. And once it reaches a certain age, you don't really fix major appliances, or at least I wouldn't anyway. I just unbolt them and put something else in its place. You know, and really there's not much left to go wrong except the air conditioner, the fridge, and the 12-volt pump, you know. And especially dropping the black tank, getting rid of the bathroom, that really changes the high maintenance of the trailer. If you even got rid of the 12-volt pump and the water system, then you never have to have it winterized again, because then it's sort of a dry trailer without any hassle. So technically then you'd be saving money every year. But yeah, but we will have to see how things roll, how things turn out. I've done my research on the plastic suits and the masks, the sprayer, how to kill mold, what chemicals there are, and I'm just waiting here to essentially for the end of the month. And once I get my next budget here, the end of the month, once the rent's paid, I'm not going to buy groceries. I'm going to buy plastic suits, masks, and chemical instead, and start decontaminating that trailer. I don't think we should throw it away. I think we should attempt to fix it. I think if we attempted to fix a lot more things, whether it's a simple TV or a vehicle or a marriage, there'd be a whole lot less unhappy people in the world, and a lot more sense of ownership and pride, because we're taking care of our lives, taking care of our families, taking care of our money, not wasting and not throwing things away that don't need to be thrown away. But we'll see how the rest of the day here goes. We'll do another check-in later on, and thank you all for listening. Well, hello internets, here we are. We're starting to wind the day down. It's a good day. As you can tell, I'm still alive. I've been able to function fairly well today. I'm still a little messed up, but that stands to reason. When you come in contact with one of your, well, pretty much your major allergy, it's like my kryptonite, you know. There's a lot of things when I was younger that I could handle and do, and not even, it wouldn't even faze me. But if I got into mold, whether it was snow mold, moldy food, moldy grain, moldy wood, like wet basement, or even running around in the trees while camping, and things like that, then it hits me hard. Very, very hard. It depends on how deep I was in it. Over the years, I've learned to avoid certain situations that may or may not have caused trouble, but that's kind of what you do. You have to learn to live with things so you don't, you know, have more problems, right? Well, I had quite a few tire kickers today, probably like 10 or 15 people, and no one was willing to get off their butt to drive 7 minutes or 10 minutes across town to come have a look, or if they're messaging out of the area, then, well, you know, it says exactly where it's from. If you're not prepared to drive the 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever hours, then you shouldn't be sending the message to begin with. I had a guy drive all the way from BC to buy my Cub Cadet tractor. I drove all the way to Edmonton to buy wheels for my Tercel. I drove all the way to Saskatoon to buy a topper. I've driven all over the countryside for free lawnmowers or tent trailers that I had to pay, you know, a couple $100s for. Once again, you should not be playing interested unless you're willing to do it, to follow through. And then you get those people that I've come to call vultures, where they see something, whether it's an older car that won't pass inspection, or somebody saying, I broke up with my wife or my fiance or whatever, and this ring is no good to me, so I'm selling it for $400, which is probably far below the value of the ring. And then these vultures swoop in and go, I'll give you $100, you know. And then when you say no, they go, well, you know, don't be an idiot, that's all it's worth. Well, no, it's worth far more. And I know for a fact that the frame is worth far more. than what these people have been offering me. I could use the fridge, you know, I could use the heater, I could use a couple of the windows, I could part it out and get $1,000 in parts on it, and then when the next vulture that comes along and offers me, you know, $2,000 less than asking price, then I'll take it, you know. And then here you got a half parted out trailer that basically is no good to them. Well, they should have thought about that before making their crazy lowball offers just to see how desperate I am. See, it's not costing me nothing, literally nothing, to have it sit there. Because the place where it's sitting, it's taking up the other half of a stall that it's sitting in that the other person is paying essentially full price for. So it's being stored there for essentially free when you factor in what the other person is storing there. And it can sit there until this time next year. It can sit there for 5 years basically, and then, you know, I'll let it go for their crazy lowball $1,500 offers like they're giving, you know. So no, I know some of the stuff. Well, I know it's a 15-year-old trailer. Some of the parts in there, you know, have been used, and to put 15-year-old parts into a new build is a little bit of a risk, but it would save a person money. On Amazon and online, when you're looking at rooftop air conditioners, you know, they're fairly pricey. When you're looking at those RV fridges, they're really pricey. When people are selling the rooftop air conditioning, they're wanting like $450, $500. When people are selling the fridges, they're wanting anywhere from $400 or $500 up until like $1,000, depends on the size of the fridge. This one here doesn't have a separate freezer, so, you know, it's probably not a $600 fridge, but still, it's of value to somebody. I just don't have the tools or the space to go and part things out anymore. So that was kind of why I was trying to sell it as a whole. And this wasn't the definitive ad to sell it. This was just gauging people's response to see if they'd even be interested. You know, at one time, some retired farmer or retired person would have bought this trailer and fixed it over winter, and then made like $3,000 to $4,000 profit next spring. Especially with the fuel prices the way they are, you got yourself a 2,800 to 3,200 pound trailer, you know, aluminum frame, laminated, fiberglass laminated construction, has been through hail in its life, and other than the roof vent, there was absolutely no damage from the hail. The trailers that have the metal siding, they go through a hailstorm, and you can tell they were hailed. I believe the siding on these other trailers are even aluminum, so it doesn't even take much before you've damaged it. You can back and touch a tree, and you've damaged the tin just from touching the branches, small branches, like flexible branches of the tree. So if it was a new trailer, you know, it'd be an insurance claim. If it was a family trailer that was, you know, maybe like a little newer, then there would be a claim. The fact that it's 15 years old, I don't really think it's worth putting an insurance claim in. Would it be worth putting an insurance claim in and having them write off what, $9,000 to $12,000 trailer, you know, and then they cut you a check for what, $6,000 and tell you to go find another one? I see value in it, and in this throwaway disposable world, I think we need to fix more things. I know I touched on it in the earlier part of this vlog, whether it was this half or the other half, about living in a throwaway society, but we need to start fixing things, you know, fixing computers, fixing patio sets, reusing patio sets, reusing bicycles, reupholstering couches, you know, and then maybe our landfills and oceans and whatever wouldn't be so full of garbage because we're not mass producing trash just to be used a year or two until it breaks and then buying new stuff. I know I've got the allergy. I know I have to be very, very careful. It's going to be a huge risk. But if I can take it apart and decontaminate it and dry it out, stuff like that, without without ending up in the hospital, and if it can dry out over winter, and then I get in there and clean it, and it still doesn't put me in the hospital, then I'm going to put it back together. And when I put it back together, I'm going to customize the trailer to my taste, to my liking, and I might not even stop. I might redo the whole inside of the trailer, do the back half, do the front half. Right now the middle half, where the kitchen is acceptable. The back half is the part that needs attention. The front half is the dinette. But I never use the dinette. I don't eat in my trailer. I prefer to eat outside in nature. I cook outside in nature too, so really the kitchen is just used for prep work, and then I take it outside to cook it. I generally do my dishes outside and things like that. If I'm in a mall parking lot where I want a little bit of privacy, where you can't really, you know, unfold the awning, get out the old armchair and set up camp, then you kind of cook or microwave something inside that is, you know, non-intrusive to the neighbors, and do your dishes inside, and kind of don't make it look like you're living there, kind of a thing. So we'll have to see how things fold out, and like I said, given the cost of replacing it, I believe the risk is worth the reward, per se, if I can pull it off. You know, if I can't pull it off, well then, you know, it'll be an epic fail, and well, you know, you guys will probably never see the video footage because there'll be nobody there to edit or upload it, so you know, it is what it is, right? But gonna end her all here. Today was a good day. Hope you enjoyed this two-part vlog. We will continue going on next time I pick up the old camera. And as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's Vlogs. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.